Now I'm recording. Hi guys, I know it's been a while since I've done a video. Last time I talked about doing a video about Celtic mythology, and well, the book is in that. I mean, it's interesting. I just don't know how I'm going to do a video about it. The other thing is, I've been kind of demotivated to do these videos. Kind of been second guessing kind of myself. So like, I've talked about how I want to what the channel is going to be, types of videos, and I said half of it's going to be about gaming and this stuff, and that's the chance part. My channel is Crit Chance, and the crit part is talking about critical thinking. Um, what critical thinking is kind of using laws of logic and understanding, like philosophy, fallacies and philosophy, fallacies to form correct and cogent uh, thoughts and beliefs. Um, so something like argumentum ad populum, I believe that's what it's called, it might be argument ad populum, basically says something is true because a lot of people believe it. Well, that's fallacy. You know, you can go back hundreds of years to when people thought the earth was flat or it revolved around the sun, and that's just not true. So I've been wanting to do this video about this topic that's kind of gone out of the limelight. Um, and it's the issue I want to talk about is the Covington schoolboys and Nathan Phillips, man. Now, if you don't know what it is, basically, it's something that the narratives kind of changed over a while. That kind of got presented in different kind of, well, as new information came out, it kind of got presented in different lights. So let's talk about when it first came out. When it first came out, it was just like short clips of these Catholic schoolboys in MAGA hats, of course. Uh, and the narrative was they were this well, it was this young boy, and then there were all these boys behind him, all boys school apparently. Uh, and this Native American man, Nathan Phillips, and the narrative was he was taunting them. And when I first saw the video, I thought, I don't know the context of this. I'm gonna kind of reserve an opinion. Then like a day or two came by, and people started making comparisons of uh, this boy's reaction to in the past, like uh, white people's reactions to like people trying to get civil rights. They would show the boy, and then Nathan Phillips, and then they'd show like a picture of from the civil rights movement when blacks were trying to like sit down or go in public places with no restrictions, and you know and I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw that I was like, yeah, that's accurate. It's accurate to make that thing. So then, and I want to make something clearer too, I am not I don't like anything about Trump. I'm not a Catholic. I'm just trying to see I'm just trying to suss out what actually happened. So then, we see you watch the video a little bit longer, but it's only like a minute or something. And when I saw the boy's reaction, I don't know what the boy's name is. I think it's Nick, but I think it's Nick. So when I saw this boy's face, when I saw it, I don't, I couldn't say that he was purposefully mocking this. And the Nathan Phillips was native, and he was kind of pounding on his drum, singing too. And I just don't think this boy was. Sure, I think there was some kind of mocking, but I don't. Kids are kids. They're gonna mock stuff, and I think it was mocking him, not him, the Native American guy, beating the drum, because there were some other emotions, kind of like what is going on, and like emotions like this kid might be not necessarily scared, but maybe just don't know, doesn't know what's going on. So then I saw a video, or no, I saw an article posted on a Facebook page I follow. It's a science page that calls out a lot of dumb stuff, uh, like anti-science stuff, which comes from the right a lot. Or, it can come from the left. There's a lot of anti-vax stuff that comes from the left. And the article was well written. And basically it had an hour and a half video. And I think I remember. So what this hour and a half video was, basically the first hour of it showed kind of the whole area where these Catholic schoolboys and this Native American guy. But what it showed in the beginning of this video was that there were these black Israelites. Now, if you don't know about black Israelites, they are, they follow Judaism, and they have beliefs that and see, this is what I was talking about, how I don't want to get into super opinions about myself, and I just kind of want to state the facts. Well, I think I could do that without showing bias. They have beliefs that, um, you know, Judaism is the right religion, and that, I mean, that's all I could really say, to be honest. I know I know they technically, with some like groups, I think the Southern Poverty Law Center, but that might not be right, claim that they're a racist organization, and actively believe in like the superiority of black people, and they, and are very. I don't know enough about black Israelites. Um, I don't know how many have extremist views of like, you know, one of the Jewish, you know, if they have like a belief about Jewish tribes coming to America, or I don't, I don't, I don't know enough. But basically, this video was showing that this group of people were uh, harassing kind of other people. Like, well, I don't know if I would even say that. Maybe they were being inflammatory. Like the beginning of the video, it would show them arguing with even a native person, that they were like, you worship nature, you worship animals, that is a sin, and they had this very vocal about it. And they also, throughout the video, there was a young man, who might have been a kid, kind of skating around them, and you heard one of these black Israelites say, he better not get close to me, saying that this guy was going to get violent with this young man. So that's all I'm going to say kind of about them, because it's not really about them. And there are definitely people on the right that, want to focus in on them. And that's not the focus. But the main point of this video was, it was an open area, and it actually showed you a little bit more of what was happening. So they were, not everything that they say, I think, is wrong. The things about not believing everything the government says. I think that's perfectly valid. I don't think everything the government says is a lie, but there's some valid things. But basically, it was showing that it was this big area where there was multiple groups of people, and so then you see the Covington Catholic boys go up to these stairs, and I think these black Israelites they were kind of being loud. So I think what they were kind of doing was kind of maybe to drown out these other men, these first men. And I think there was some other people that kind of were. It was basically showing that there were other individuals that did not like what these black Israelites were doing. And This is about an hour. This is about an hour in that you see these boys getting to the top of these stairs. Um, and so then uh, you see the Nathan Phillips man walk up. And let's talk about the Nathan Phillips man. There was some, information. I wanted it to be clear. I don't think he did anything wrong. I think he operated with some of the information that he had. You know, like I said before, we knew that those kids that they were kids, but he didn't. He probably thought they were just young people. And then there's there's constantly information going out that tries to shed negative light on the boys, shed negative light on Phillips. Like people were talking about how this Phillips guy, information came out that he was a veteran, and then some information came out. Well, maybe he wasn't, but the news got it wrong. And then there was, people saying, well, he might have lied about it, and I don't know, but the the point is, was whether or not what these boys did was wrong. And so, like I said, boys are up there. If Phillips walks up to them and bangs his drum, I think he saw a situation that maybe of need diffusion, and I don't blame him. But my point is, I think these, these are boys. People are like, oh, boys. I was watching. Someone posted like a thing about how one of these boys took off his shirt, and it's like, I don't know what to tell you. Kids take off their shirts sometimes at rallies. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? Like, how are you saying he's trying to mock him? But so I don't think the Phillips guy did anything wrong, and I don't think the Catholic schoolboys did anything wrong. And then some information came out about how their school, and then obviously it's a Catholic school, so they don't have. Well, it's not because they're Catholic, but this school doesn't have the most uh, good views about things. Like they're like anti-abortion, and that's what these boys were there to protest against abortion. And then it came out some information that about these, like there were some pictures going around that they did blackface at a towards this, and they people found a picture that had this black athlete basketball player, and it looked like the one boy, one of the students was he was in well first of all he was in all black with his chest too. It wasn't like he was in blackface, and people thought that this student was yelling at this basketball player. Then some information came out that, well, this is something that other, or kind of in the South, that it's called like a blackout game or some of these other things. And then some more information came out that some of these boys, there was about 10 boys, and it was a short video. It was only like 8 seconds. Heckled this woman, right? And these articles had claimed that they yelled at her, uh, "It's not rape if she likes it," or something. Now, if they did do that, that's wrong, all right. But the thing is, you don't know if these boys were from the school. You know, they the video doesn't even show them saying that. So this whole thing is just people. I people are just jumping on to what they want to believe. And I think that's wrong, and it's bad for this like political climate and just kind of on the climate in the world. And that's kind of the top why I'm bringing this up is people are jumping to whatever they want to believe. And so if if these boys did do that, right? These boys that heckled this woman, that's wrong. But you know what? Those are 10 boys. It wasn't this kid, the Nick boy. It wasn't, uh, you know, you can't judge these. I mean, you can't judge the 10 boys, but you can't use that same judgment on these 10 boys, on this kid. And um, so that's why I think we we've we've really we really got to stop jumping to conclusions. Us as a people, and I mean, it's um it's just really ridiculous, I think. And I think being able to understand the situation, that it's not as clear as people want to portray it as. And I don't think it's really anyone's fault. I don't think this is like a giant media scheme to be like, there's racism everywhere. And there's racism places. Let's get that out of the thing. Because I don't think this was like a racist act or a bigoted act doesn't mean I don't think that there are. Um, I, you, you know, um, not everyone who, they constantly point to the MAGA things. I think, I personally think Trump is a racist, and I think I have valid reasons for that. You look to what he said about, shithole countries versus like uh, Norway or Sweden, and it's like you do understand that these countries have a lot of socialist systems. So Mr. Trump, what do you actually like about these Swedish and Norway immigrants? Is it the fact that they're socialist, or is it the fact that they're white? And it's probably that they're white. So, and you look at his rhetoric on the Central Park Five, and you know what that was these four young men got blamed for a crime, and he was very adamant that they did the crime, and it was found that they were innocent, and he was still like, no, they're, he didn't want to change his position. And that's another thing about critical thinking and what people need to do. People need to understand that they can be wrong. And once you have that, once you are able to actually like be able to say, you know what, I may be wrong. You have such a vast different outlook on how you receive information. Just and to understand that you may be wrong doesn't mean that any evidence about something that you get is, all subjective, right? It's just that's not what it means, right? Because there's a lot of people that'll say, well, you can't really believe any news story. You can't really believe anyone. Well, you can believe some people. I had burritos for lunch. Do you believe me? Well, you probably should. I can document that. Um, and not everyone who voted for Trump is a racist. I think I think that's one of the things that we need to just stop jumping to conclusions, right? And I think everyone's guilty of this. I don't think it's just the left. I don't think it's like PC culture and all this stuff. I've been recently I've been having more talks with people online on Facebook about abortion, right? And I'm pro-choice. Um, you know, uh, I think it's a person's right to choose. I think there's a lot of good arguments for it, like bodily autonomy, and the fact that we give rights to a dead person, versus like a living person. We don't go harvest a person's organs because another person uh, might live. Um, and I think we can get into this. I think people can get into discussions why not everyone who's against abortion is a sexist. We need to understand this. I think I think when you can kind of cut down to it, a lot of people who are against it are, because you hear stuff like, well, if you have sex, well, then you have to, you have to have that baby. Um, you know, I think we could have plenty of discussions like that. But we just need to understand that not everything is so black and white. There's a really good picture that I was going through my phone. It's like a graphic that says, here's your position, here's my position, right? They're so close, but when we disagree on something, then this position, is moving my position way over here. Way over. I'm a TIE fighter now. Way over here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Um, here it is. Maybe we can. Yeah. Well, people can't read backwards, so maybe that was a bad idea. Um, just yeah, that is basically what I think. I think that was a situation that kind of got blown out of proportions, and like what I said earlier, when I saw the depictions of them comparing the kid to past experiences, and when it comes to civil rights, I kind of fell for that. Um, you know, I'm trying to think of a specific instance where me and someone really disagreed on something, or barely disagreed on something, and then it got really then they tried to take my position way out of proportion. Um, I can't really think of that, but that's going back to uh, admitting you're wrong. Um, when you understand that, you can understand that if people don't want to, can't admit that sometimes people can't admit they're wrong, then you understand that they're so tied to their beliefs that nothing will change it. Um, so that's basically my situation, my outlook of those boys. Um, I don't think the Phelps man did anything wrong. I think he saw a situation that he thought could escalate, and he wanted to de-escalate it. Um, but I will say this too. I will say this too. Um, what those boys done may have been, they may have had some bigoted views. But I think the point is, don't, there's not enough information. Um, and I think people just need to be able to say that. There's not enough information. And uh, people need to understand. I'm mostly left. I'm mostly left on all issues. Um, you know, I think because I don't agree with people on this situation that happened with these boys in Phillips, doesn't mean that I think there's no racism, and there's no way that we could find out in a lot of situations. I do, um, but I just don't think there's enough information here, and I haven't seen convincing arguments from people on the left side of the argument. That is all I'm saying. Um, I want to let's kind of segue this into more of the critical thinking aspects of this. I'm thinking about what I want. I want this video to be mostly talking about that, and I think I've talked about it a good amount. Stated my views, what the some of the facts were, um, and I've talked about how people need to admit they're wrong, and um, I can't really think of anything. This is. Let me talk about my kind of process for how I kind of write. And sometimes I'll write scripts. A lot of times, I'm just in the shower thinking, this is what I want to talk about. I've thought about this many days, and I don't have a script. Some of my other videos I have, um, but now I'm kind of drawing blanks on the kind of some of these critical thinking ideas about it. And let me say one thing too. A lot of it has become people's ability to not. It's been good and bad. The internet. I'm talking about the internet. The internet has been good and bad because you get all these different beliefs, right? But you also, if you disagree with someone on Facebook, block that easy. You know what I mean? It's made people. On the one hand, it's made people not, be able to discuss things, and but on the other hand, when you're exposed to so many views, that's got to have some kind of effect. And there's also the aspect of, you know, if you have a belief, you know, kind of an out there belief, maybe like flat Earth, now you can find that community, and then you just kind of become insular, and it just reinforces your thing. Um, I don't think the internet is bad. It's good and bad things. Um, so yeah, that's basically what I think about that whole situation and why it was kind of blown out of proportion, um, by people on the left and the right. Um, you know, uh, and here's the other thing. Let me make another thing. Let me say another thing. I think, you know, if you're a sensible person, mostly sensible person, not like voted for Trump, I can't see why you would want to wear like a MAGA hat. You know what I mean? Like, and talk about, let's talk about why I think Trump is racist. You know, you heard what he said about the Charlottesville marchers, protesters. Those, let's be honest, they were white nationalists. You know, um, that's real. You know, they think, you know, the West, United States, should be primarily a white country, and people need to adhere to uh, white values and all this stuff, and some of them were flying Nazi flags, and you know, uh, for God's sakes, Trump had white nationalists on his team. Steve Bannon, uh, Steve Miller. You know, I I think I think Jeff Sessions has said some stuff. That when he said, "Oh, there's fine people on both sides." Well, that might be true, but the fact is, you should have called out these white nationalists. You know what I mean? He should have called them out. And, you know, I could talk about, I'm sure we all know people, relatives, older relatives, that have some, they don't think clearly on stuff. They may be bigoted, they may be racist, but it's really hard because I don't think I could call them a bad person. I think they just don't think clearly. I know people very close to me. I know people very close to me that I remember. So Discovery Channel used to have this one show. The first of the show was like it was like a documentary. It was like a faux documentary that was about like if we really discovered a dragon like skeleton, and it was really cool. In the beginning of the documentary, it was like uh, this is all fake. You know, it's kind of that. Oh God, what was that? Uh, George. It wasn't Orwell. Alien. Oh, God, I'm thinking about that Orwell Alien radio uh, broadcast where it was like back it was like back in the 30s or 20s where there was like a fake like just a radio like program that was like this is just a show. um Orson Welles, what did I say, Orwell? Orson Welles, yeah, War of the Worlds radio drama where uh, it's 1938. um The episode became famous for causing panic among its listening audience because they thought an alien attack was really happening because they didn't hear the beginning thing. And that's kind of what talking about this documentary. Um, so yeah, it was just this documentary about this. Uh, what if we really found a dragon? Skeleton was like it was really cool because it was like this is what a dragon might have looked like in the dinosaur age, and it kind of looked like just kind of like a raptor or like kind of had a long neck and just had like primitive wings that you know hold on. It had just wings that were like this kind of came in um, and it was like this what it could look like, maybe they were related to crocodiles. And so that became really popular. And I really liked that. And then they had a second one that was like that. Well, they forgot to put a little disclaimer at the beginning of the show. This is not real. And this time it was about what if we found like a mermaid skeleton, and what we could learn about like the evolution of this. And these people that are close to me saw this, and they were eating it up. It was just like this Orson Welles, yeah, War of the Worlds radio thing where they just believed it. And I was like, this isn't real. This is like set up. And they were just like, oh, like people could be so immediately attached to something. And my point of bringing that up is that these are people that I love, and you know, they can offer good life advice. Um, Not completely, because I think but that's a different topic. Whether they always give me good life advice. And that's one of the things where it's like, I really have a hard time believing anything that they say. Most things, like I said, sometimes they give good life advice, but they're mostly fine people. They have some bad views. They have some, contradictory views, but I still think that they're mostly fine people. Um, and my point was, I segue that way from Trump, calling these white nationalists mostly fine people. That's probably true, but you still need to fucking call them out. You know what I mean? They're white nationalists. Fuck those guys. And it's crazy. I just think people have become really polarized, and it's I don't think it's good. So I think 34-minute video. I think I've explained my viewpoints, explained the situation, kind of gone to some critical thinking things. So what's next? Um, I think I might try to finish that Celtic mythology book. Might be a short video because I still love mythology, and I just I want to create stories, and maybe there's going to be some times where I don't know. We'll get to it. Like I've said in the previous video, I really love uh, like RPGs, and I want to. Ooh, I got one. Next video, I think what I'll do is I will talk about mythological elements or stories that have gotten into kind of popular culture that we really don't um, kind of know where they came from. I mean, we know about ghosts, right? But what we may not know is kind of where the orc came from. And it didn't come from just Tolkien. And he, so yeah, I think that's what I'll talk about next time. So thank you so much. I'll catch y'all later.